Good evening, everyone. I can see some have got your jackets on. I'm really sorry, but I did tell the Labour side they could take their jackets off. So if you lads want to take your jackets off, feel free and watch me sweat slowly but surely to death. Okay, so we're now going to go over to Father Alan, who is going to lead us in prayer.
Lord, the God of righteousness and truth, grant to our King and his government, central and local, to members of this council and all in positions of responsibility, the guidance of your Spirit. May they never lead the people wrongly through love of power, desire to please, or unworthy ideals, but laying aside all private interests and prejudices, keep in mind their responsibility to seek to improve the condition of all denizens of this borough. So may your kingdom come and your name be hallowed. Amen. If you care to do so, would you join in with the saying of the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Can you all remain standing, please, for the national anthem?
God save our gracious King, long live our noble King. God save the King. Send him victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the King. Thanks.
That was lovely. Thank you very much. Please be seated. It's all right to make it. Apologies for absence.
It's extraordinary meeting.
Oh, right, yes, sorry. Yeah, it's, we must make an announcement that this is the part of the run-up to the extraordinary meeting, and that'll all make sense as we go along. So, with no further ado, apologies for absence are Councillor Johnson, Councillor Clark, Councillor Razak, Councillor Lowe, Councillor Ali, Councillor Baton, Councillor Eccles and Councillor Roberts. Are there any more?
Stephen Casey.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Right, I'm just going to make a little bit of an announcement here. If there's anything that I need to take advice on tonight, there'll be none of the, there'll be more of me asking you to be patient while I just turn to Belvinder and ask Belvinder what that problem might be. So if you think we're having a conflab about anything, it will be about what we need to be talking about. Just thought I'd point that out to you. There is a general dispensation under the Members' Code of Conduct, which means that councillors do not have to declare an interest in relation to ceremonial honours. Are there any other declarations of interest under the Members' Code of Conduct?
None received.
No? Okay, thank you. Freedom of the Borough. I call on the Leader of the Council, Patrick Harley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of the Council, I move that pursuant to Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1972, the Council hereby confers the freedom of the Borough upon Joe Bullock, and that the Chief Executive be authorised to make any necessary arrangements regarding the presentation of the award. It would be remiss of me, Mr. Mayor, not to explain to members exactly why we wish to bestow this honour onto Joe. Joe Bullock, as you know to everyone, was born in Lye on the 30th December 1924 and he's now 100 years young. Whilst that's an achievement in itself, he's best known by many as being a survivor of D-Day on the 6th of June, when he landed on Sword Beach as part of a Royal Navy task force. Joe was just 19 years of age and crossed the channel in a barge from the River Thames that had been converted and refitted for beach repairs to other stranded vessels. A big difference in conditions, Mr. Mayor, for a river vessel that made for a very bumpy crossing. He remained on the Normandy beaches repairing vessels and making them seaworthy again until September. Joe was a carpenter and his trade was very much needed to plug the holes made by the enemy. In case members are wondering, they still use wooden bungs to plug holes in battle-damaged ships. Joe was conscripted to the Royal Navy in February 1943, aged 18, and served until June 1946. He moved from Normandy to the Mediterranean and finally Singapore, fixing every possible type of vessel on the way. After leaving the Navy, he came back to carpentry and specialised in making coffins. He also found time to marry and be a father to 4 children, and is a grandfather to 6 and a great-grandfather to 12. All his family are extremely proud of him. Now, whilst not talking much about his experience during World War II, he has always remembered those he served with, and particularly those who were not as fortunate as him. He has marched past the cenotaph as part of the National Remembrance Commemoration in London, and is a regular attendee at the Remembrance Sunday event in Mary Stevens Park in Stourbridge. He was awarded the Legion d'Honour in 2016 for his part in the Normandy campaign, and is also president of the Royal Naval Association at the Stourbridge branch. He actively supports the Stourbridge Royal British Legion, Poppy Appeal, and he was helping to fundraise last year and was already been drafted in to help fundraise for this year. One of his daughters, Caroline, recently said of her 100-year-old father, he is still very active and independent, and he even wanted to apply for a new driving licence, but the family thought otherwise. He has a word for everybody and is a very chatty man. He's still very active and just had to give up driving on New Year's Eve because his licence ran out. That's the spirit we expect from a D-Day veteran. Joe is probably our last D-Day veteran in the whole of the borough, and if anyone knows any different, please speak up. On the 29th of June at the Armed Forces event at Himley, our Mayor, Councillor Pete Lee, presented Joe with a commemorative civic paperweight in recognition of his service. But perhaps that was a little short of what Joe truly deserves, and it's entirely appropriate for him to be awarded the freedom of the borough. After all, without the likes of Joe, we may not be here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is there well, it is customary. It's customary. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Is there a seconder? I'll get there eventually.
Formally seconded with pleasure, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Dudley. It's customary not to have speeches at this stage. This will be done in future meeting, where we'll bestow the honour on Joe. I would just like to add a little bit there myself. I've sat by Joe on the V event about 4 or 5 weeks ago now, and I also sat by him at the Armed Forces, and he's quite a lad. He likes the women, he does, at 100 years old. So I've told Belvinder she needs to be careful. And also he's a nimble on his feet. He's a cracking dancer. He's better than me. So there you go. So, okay, so there will be an opportunity to make comments on the future award presentation. I call on the leader to reply. Okay, thank you. Is that all agreed? Yeah, no problems there. Thank you for that. And thank you, Councillor Harley, for bringing Joe to the forefront. I'm really proud of you for doing that. Thank you very much. That is carried. That concludes the business of the extraordinary meeting. We will now move on to business of the ordinary meeting. Apologies for absence. Well, we've done that, so that's fine there. Declarations of interest. Any prior declarations of interest made under the Members' Code of Conduct has been published online. I now invite members to declare any additional interests.
None declared.
Okay, thank you. I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of April, the annual meeting held on the 15th of May, and the extraordinary meeting held on the 19th of June 2025 be confirmed as correct records and signed. Does the council agree? Thank you. That is carried. At the last meeting, the council was informed of a recent death of a councillor, Graham Debney. It's also my sad duty to report the recent death of Beryl Biggs, who served as mayoress in the 2002 to 2003 municipal year. Beryl's funeral will be held on Friday the 18th of July at Stourbridge Crematorium. I can now invite members to pay individual tributes to Graham Debney and Beryl Biggs. Are there any councillors wishing to?
Councillor Stanley and Councillor Aston.
Okay. Councillor Stanley, call on you to make your contribution there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It was a pleasure to know former Councillor Debney. I worked very closely with him, Mr Mayor, when I was chairman of the Development Control Committee, or in those days known probably as the Planning Committee. We used to have side visits after each meeting. That's how the committee was run in those days. We called ourselves a working group. It was always a pleasure to get on one of Hanson's coaches with Councillor Debney, because by the time I got off there, we'd put the world to right. He was a very dedicated councillor for Wordsley, and one of the things he managed to achieve, Mr Mayor, after campaigning for quite a number of years, was the unsightly building was left as a former Wordsley Institute. He finally got it demolished after so many years of complaining because of the eyesore, and he's always said it'll fall on somebody one day when they walk past there if we don't do something about it. He was also very dexterous on some of the shop fronts in Wordsley, especially around the Kimber Street area, and spent a lot of time campaigning for an upgrade, which he finally got done. He was a very hard worker for Wordsley. He lived in Wordsley. He truly looked after the Wordsley folk without any problems whatsoever. He also, Mr Mayor, was one of the trustees on the Stourbridge Navigation Trust, which he played a very active part in. So, in summary, Mr Mayor, without taking any more of your good time up, just to pay tribute to a councillor I was proud to work with, although he's from the opposite side of the chamber to myself. That relationship and working together for the benefit of this community certainly did exist with him. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Call on Councillor Adams.
Adam
Oh, sorry, Aston. Sorry, got your name completely wrong.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. May I be the first to wish you a very happy Black Country Day. Mr Mayor, paying tribute to friends and colleagues who we've lost serves as both a reminder of our own mortality, but more importantly, that we in this room are merely custodians of this council and of this borough. We'll hand it over to the next generation of politicians, some of whom may be sitting in the public gallery, just as those who we pay tribute to handed it to us. Mr Mayor, Graham Debney served the Wordsley ward between 1999 and 2006 with distinction. He was a champion for his constituents, a determined community councillor, and a lovely man who cared passionately for Wordsley and its people. I believe Graham, as already been mentioned, also volunteered for the Stourbridge Canal Trust on his retirement from this council and was a well-loved volunteer. On behalf of the Labour group, we send our love and condolences to his wife Linda and their family. Mr Mayor, as the son of a councillor, I grew up in and around this building and around this council during the 1990s and the early 2000s. Councillor Margaret Wilson was one of this council's biggest characters. Having lost her beloved husband Jack a few years earlier, Margaret chose her friend Beryl Biggs as her mayoress during her mayoral year in 2002-2003. Much like yourself, Mr Mayor, the best mayoral teams approach the role with good humour, a sense of fun and a deep desire to fly the flag for our glorious borough, and Margaret and Beryl did just that. Having never sought public office herself, Beryl was thrust into the limelight and did a sterling job supporting Margaret. They had an incredibly successful mayoral year and represented our council and our borough with distinction. Beryl died at home peacefully on the 17th of June, having clocked up a very impressive 94 years. I'd like to place on record our gratitude for her service to the civic life of our borough and send love and best wishes to her family and friends. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Today is Black Country Day, as you rightly said. The Black Country flag has been proudly flying over the council house today. The coat of arms is now being flown over the council house and will be taken down tomorrow morning, and the Black Country flag will be reinstated to remind everyone of the council's pride in our Black Country heritage. Black Country Festival events are taking place across the borough during this month. I've attended a couple of them myself already, and it's absolutely fantastic community spirit and well worth everybody supporting. So that absolutely goes without saying. It's absolutely fantastic. The councillors versus officers cricket match took place on the 4th of July. I must report that this year, unusually, we lost. I could have got a better laugh than that. It dropped a bit awkward, that did, didn't it? But anyway, it was won by the officers, well, you know, the officers team anyway. And I would like to say a special thanks, Mo. And if I'm going to call you Mo because I look on you as a friend, and you worked hard and you always work hard. You've been poorly and you still throw yourself into it. So thank you, Mo. Honestly, thank you very much. And we raised £623, I think it was, or £28, something like that. Was snatched out of my hands very quickly, Mo. Yeah. So that was, it was a great evening, so well done. And well done everybody that contributed. Can I also take this opportunity to welcome political students from King Edward's College, Stourbridge, sitting up there and taking all of this in and thinking what a right hack I'm making of it so far. And their tutor, who is here to observe tonight's council meeting from the public gallery. Armed Forces Day was absolutely blown away by Armed Forces Day. It was probably the best event I've been to ever. It was absolutely mind-blowing. It was absolutely exceptional. And that's when we discovered Joe Bullock, thanks to Councillor Harley there. And now he's getting his just deserve, and that's well earned. Fantastic day, very successful. We made the yeomanry at Dudley honorary freedom of the borough, and that was brilliant. And they've given us a fantastic certificate back in 2x3 frame. Councillor, is it really? Councillor Corville we worked hard on that one and we got what we wanted, didn't we? So, yeah, that was brilliant. So I'm not used to calling people by the last names. I like to refer to them as the first name, and I'm being put right here. And finally, there will be an extraordinary meeting of the council at 6 p.m. on Monday the 8th September 2025 to obviously report on Joe's Bullock's
Outcome of appointments panel.
and outcome of the appointments panel. Thank you. I haven't got that wrote down here, so. Also in Brierley Hill levelling up bids. One, I call on the leader.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, members of the council, I move that the recommendations of the Cabinet be approved and adopted.
Is there a seconder?
Formally seconded, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any speakers on this item?
Adam Davis.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to rise briefly, just first of all to say thank you to the officers for their work on not just the work over the last 12 months to get to the bid where we are now, but on the original bid a couple of years ago when we managed to secure £20 million, which for a community like Brierley Hill is a huge amount of money. We're now in a position where officers are working on a new project plan, which means it will look slightly different to what it would have a few years ago, but we've actually worked with officers and with people in the community to make sure that there'll be some really exciting projects within this, hopefully including for the old former Brierley Hill police station, which we know is going to be changing what it's used for later this year. So we've got some exciting projects on the way here. This funding, which we managed to secure a few years ago from the previous government's Levelling Up Fund, is going to make that possible. And we're going to keep working with the community, myself and my ward colleague, Councillor Little, to make sure that the community priorities are delivered as part of this huge investment into Brierley Hill. So I just wanted to say thank you to officers, and we'll look forward to delivering this with them. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Davis. That's great. And we appreciate the work that you, Councillor Little, put in there as well. Thank you very much. Councillor Bills.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to do the same and say thank you for the levelling up fund that's coming to Halesowen. We all know that Pool Road car park has to come down. People say, why have you closed the higher floors? I don't like to say because the building can't take any more weight. We have to keep quiet about that. But I think also what I like about it is what the college intend to do with the town hall and Wilco underneath. If we can save those buildings and put them back to good use, it'd be absolutely wonderful. So as far as I'm concerned, it's all very encouraging, and I'm looking forward to being around, you never know, being around when it's all completed. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
I'm sure you will be, Councillor Bills. I'm sure you will be. I now call on Steve Edwards. Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, I think Hilary had covered it, but yeah, obviously great to have investment into the wards. What we want to try and do with the Black Country Party is ensure that we've got cross-party support. So within our own ward of Brockmore and Pensnet, it's not just me and Karen. We've also got support from Alex as well, and I think within Brierley Hill we need to recognise that there's a third councillor, and if all of the councillors work together, I think we could achieve a lot more.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. I call on the leader to reply.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, the comments from the three members who've spoken noted, but I have to also thank Councillor Davis for his contribution on this. He is like a terrier in a rabbit hole at times when he wants something for Brierley Hill. But credit to him and his other two ward colleagues for keep going at it. It is a slightly different bid, the Brierley Hill one, but I believe that we get probably a lot more out of this than we were previously. And again, as Councillor Davis alluded to, the work of the officers who understand placemaking. They have done a lot of hard work here. And it's nice to see investment and regeneration happening, not just in Dudley Town Centre, but also Brierley Hill and, of course, Halesowen. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Harley. All agreed? Thank you. That is carried. Variation of the capital programme. I call on the leader.
Mr Mayor, members of the council, I move that the recommendation of the Cabinet be approved and adopted. Thank you.
Is there a seconder?
Yes, seconded, Mr Mayor.
Are there any speakers on this item?
No.
No. Okay.
All agreed.
All agreed? Thank you. I call on the leader to reply. Oh, sorry. Annual report of the Audit Standards Committee, 2024 to 2025. Annual report of the Audit Standards Committee, 2024-25. I call on Councillor Carl Denning.
Mr Mayor, members of the council, I move that the report be received and noted.
Is there a seconder?
And there's also councillor Cole. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there any speakers on this item? No. No? Okay, thank you.
All agreed.
I call on Councillor Carl Denning to reply.
No reply, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Denning. All agreed? That is carried. Notice of a motion. Can I remind members that the maximum time allowed to deal with all notices of motion at this meeting is 30 minutes. So if any notices of motion are not dealt with within this period, they will be referred to the next ordinary meeting of the council. Defend the most vulnerable against welfare cuts. I call on Councillor Andrew Tromans to move the motion in his name as set out in the agenda. Councillor Tromans.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for calling me to move this motion today concerning a topic of utmost importance for those living with disabilities in our borough and beyond. Mr Mayor, the Birmingham Mail reported last month that there are more than 21,000 recipients of the personal independence payment in our borough. And had we been discussing this motion a little earlier this year, I would have been one of them and would have needed to declare a pecuniary interest tonight. Thanks to the wonderful staff at Lion Health, Russell's Hall and the Royal Orthopaedic Hospital in Northfield, I regained my mobility and thus ceased to be in receipt of PIP. Sadly, not all are so fortunate. In fact, it can be a grave difficulty to even access PIP. PIP and other disability benefits are not handed out like designer gear to the government front bench. To receive this benefit, you must supply medical evidence of your disability. In turn, that must be verified by healthcare professionals, and then most applicants will need to undergo an in-depth assessment, either on the phone or in person. And I imagine, looking around this room, there are probably people who have had some dealing with this system, either for a loved one or supporting a resident. And those that have been through this experience of applying for PIP will know that it is degrading. Among other indignities, it involves divulging to a stranger about your toilet habits. Even so, this system is better than what is being brought forward by a so-called Labour government. Mr Mayor, how can it possibly be that the party of the NHS, the party that promised to care for people from the cradle to the grave, is bringing forward these changes to support for people with disabilities? It's quite simply a betrayal of the principle of supporting people from the cradle to the grave. Now, not wishing to preempt any contributions from members here tonight, I will simply state the following on record. Cuts in disability benefits are wrong. They are wrong if they come emblazoned with the Labour rose. They are wrong if they come with the Tory tree. And indeed, Mr Mayor, they are wrong if they come with the Lib Dem bird attached to them. I know when I speak for my group, when I say that mistakes were made in the 2010-2015 coalition. Most of us were in full-time education at that point or not involved in politics. However, we are not afraid to call out our party when they are wrong, and we welcome and express our gratitude for the minority of Labour Party MPs who did the same. This motion set out before you, I ask all members to support. It calls to offer ways we can practically support disabled people in our borough who are facing uncertainty as we wait for the outcome of the Timms review. Mr Mayor, I believe this chamber is at its best when we find compromise and speak with one voice. So let us say together tonight to all our residents living with their disabilities and their loved ones, we see you, we hear you, and we're on your side. To me, this is not an issue of left and right, just simply right and wrong. So I call on all members to support the motion as originally drafted, and please pay no mind whatsoever to the mealy-mouthed amendment which has come forward from the Labour Group. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I speak on this matter now? I
Need
formally
to second
second
it
it.
first.
Yeah.
Seconded.
We need to second it
I
first.
formally second it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, you seconded it, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is the first time I've spoken in this chamber as a Liberal Democrat, or indeed at all. I felt I need to speak on this issue of utmost importance to my residents, and I thank my group for the support in doing so. While I welcome the government's U-turn on cuts to Winterfield allowance and the backtracking on disability changes, I'm sorry that they've created a lot of upset and confusion amongst our most vulnerable residents in this borough. Folks don't know where they stand. They are asking, are they going to see their benefits cut? Will they have enough money to live on? And when is the next U-turn coming, or will there be more cuts in other places? I understand the desire to get people back into work, but the whole policy feels rushed and will likely affect almost all of the 21,000 PIP claimants in our borough who feel they have not been consulted and not heard. I welcome the MP for Stourbridge in her opposition of the welfare bill in Parliament, and I speak on behalf of my residents in opposition to that policy. And I suggest all members of the opposition party to my right support her in opposing these cuts to welfare from their party. Mr Mayor, by trade I'm an accountant, and as such, prudent use of public money is a top priority for me. The council is already bearing the cost of an ageing population and increased demands on council services. Cuts to welfare at a national level will likely add to that cost. With benefit changes coming, there will be more than ever a need to make sure that residents are claiming what they're entitled to. Hence, any support provided by this council to help them will be welcomed, but at a cost to the council. I welcome this motion in opposing the cuts to welfare, and I hope that all members will back this motion unamended. Thank you.
There's no other,
For that,
there's no other speakers.
okay, okay, there's no, so we move on now to, I call on Councillor Adam Aston to speak on the motion. I understand that Councillor Aston will move an amendment at the conclusion of his speech. The text of the amendment has been circulated to all members. Yeah, okay. So, Councillor Aston.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. For the avoidance of doubt, Dudley Labour Group is committed to supporting the most vulnerable members of our community. The welfare state was created by the Attlee Labour government, and we continue to advocate internally to mitigate the negative effects of changes to benefits. With reference to the introduction or the preamble in Councillor Troman's written motion, there have been some considerable changes to some of the mentioned policies or reforms since this motion was first submitted. On the winter fuel payment, as has been widely reported, criteria has changed for this coming winter, which means that 3/4 of all Britain's pensioners will receive it. That cliff edge, which has concerned so many of us, has been removed. Similarly, the reference to the removal of £5 billion from disabled people is now factually incorrect. Well-documented turbulence within the Parliamentary Labour Party has rather dealt with that, although I acknowledge that some concern remains. Moving on to the resolutions within the motion and with regard to the welfare rights team. Mr Mayor, Councillor Tromans will be aware that the Labour Group amendment to this year's budget report would have maintained that team going forward, and it would have maintained the £1 million of unclaimed benefits coming into the borough and likely spent within the local economy. But alas, our amendment wasn't supported by the majority of councillors within this chamber. Moving through the resolutions, on the issue of a review being called in the first resolution within the motion, I think it's incredibly important that decent consultation with the voluntary sector organisations is included in that review. And I think that needs to be specifically referenced. It's very easy for the council to say that the voluntary sector will always pick up the slack when actually those organisations simply don't have the capacity or the funding to do it. We need to listen to what they have to say. On the recommendation that group leaders write a letter, I think there needs some clarity on that. Asking the government to go back to the drawing board feels rather sloppy, and it doesn't really mean anything. Disability charities have called for co-design and co-production of any reforms, and that is what a letter from us collectively should echo. So, Mr Mayor, the Labour Group amendment I will shortly move makes some small but important changes to the resolutions within that motion. Mr Mayor, in the spirit of cross-party collaboration, I shared our amendment with group leaders and with Councillor Tromans, and I'm disappointed that Councillor Tromans has indicated that he won't be able to support our amendment. It literally does everything the motion does, but it just tightens it up into key areas. So I'm confused, unless of course it's the changes we've made to the preamble to make sure that it's factually correct, which are causing him such concern. Mr Mayor, motions should do something. They should achieve something tangible. They're not just an opportunity for a Facebook post and a press release. This is not Parliament, and we're not voting on benefit cuts. Surely a motion is more impactful if it can attract cross-party support. So to oppose such mild amendments which improve the resolution does look a bit odd. So I do hope colleagues, including Councillor Tromans, will be able to support our amendment, which, like I've said, does pretty much what the original motion does, but with some minor improvements. Mr Mayor, I formally move the amendment in my name. Thank you.
Is there a seconder? Thank you. The debate is now open. An amendment moved by Councillor Adam Aston. If any members are indicating to speak on this original motion, please remove these requests for the time being. I now call on members to indicate if they wish to speak on the amendment moved by Councillor Adam Aston. And it looks like we have Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. To speak on the amendment by Councillor Aston, I don't disagree with him that the government have made some sensible U-turns. I just believe they was forced into these U-turns. And I think the best way to force a government or a leader of a council or anything into U-turns is by the strongest words possible and showing the government that we completely disagree with their direction of travel. We have seen a slight U-turn on the winter fuel payments, which has been welcomed. We have seen a slight U-turn on the £5 billion of cuts to disabled people. But I think as a whole, if this council can send a very strong message to the government, I think it says a lot about us. And hopefully it will come from the Labour group as well, because obviously we've got a Labour government at the minute. So I believe the Labour government will probably listen to the Labour group more than they will the rest of us. So hopefully we can get good support behind Councillor Troman's amendment, motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Edwards.
No other speaker.
Okay.
There are no other speakers.
Okay. There are no other speakers on the amendment. Before I put the amendment to the vote, I call on Councillor Andrew Tromans to exercise the right of reply to the amendment. Councillor Tromans.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And thank you for that technocratic lecture, Councillor Aston. If you care to read the updated motion, it does make reference to changes, or should I call them screeching U-turns, which have occurred since I originally drafted the motion back in April. I'd like to thank Councillor Edwards for his speech and for his support. And without simply, if no further ado, I'd like to move to a named vote on the amendment from the Labour Group. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tromans. I now put the amendment to the vote. For clarity, members are voting on the amendment moved by Councillor Adam Aston. Sorry? We go to recorded vote. The amendment is lost. We'll revert to the original motion. I now call on Councillor Tromans to exercise his right to reply to the debate. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, slight amendment to that. We have Councillor Keasley. Councillor Keasley, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just got in there. Mr. Mayor, we've just heard a Liberal Democrat motion condemning the Labour government for its attack on the most vulnerable in our society. On that, I agree. Two-child benefit cap, the cuts to disability support, and the decision to strip winter fuel payments from millions of pensioners were cruel and cold, in my opinion. But let's not get carried away here, because I've got one question for the Liberal Democrats in the chamber. Are you being completely and utterly hypocritical? You see, only a few months ago, in this very chamber, at the Council's budget meeting, the Liberal Democrats, and specifically Councillor Tromans, in whose name this notice of motion has been submitted, was cheering, applauding and practically giving a standing ovation to the Conservative Cabinet Member for Finance, the man who stood up and proudly announced the removal of millions of pounds in support for those council taxpayers in this borough who could least afford it. You sat there, no, you didn't just sit there, you clapped and hollered and banged your desk as even more funding was ripped away from voluntary organisations, many of which help the very people this motion now pretends to defend. And let's talk about the welfare rights team, the same team you're now praising to the skies. You were silent when their budget was cut in half. You backed a budget that gave them a 6-month stay of execution, and now you want a report on their impact. Here's a better idea. Fund them. And since we're talking about resources, I see every single Liberal Democrat councillor who's a chair or a vice chair in a scrutiny committee, complete with the extra allowance. So here's a thought. If you're that concerned about welfare rights and the team, maybe you could all club together and donate your new allowances to keep them going a little while longer. Or does defending the vulnerable stop where the pay packet starts? This motion might be aimed at Labour in Westminster, and deservedly so. But don't try and wash your hands of your own record here in Dudley. You can't applaud cuts in March and act outraged in July. Either you defend the vulnerable all the time, or you're just using them when it's politically convenient. Because while your motion makes some fair points, and I won't vote against it and will probably vote for it, let the record show that the Liberal Democrats were complicit in the very cuts locally they're now pretending to oppose nationally. So yes, the Labour government must do better, but the Liberal Democrats must do a lot less posturing and a lot more standing up for people when it actually matters. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I call on Councillor Goddard.
Firstly, I'd like to thank Councillor Tromans for bringing forward this motion. Welfare reform is an issue that rightly provokes strong views. It directly affects thousands of people in Dudley, including some of the most vulnerable residents, and we have a duty, regardless of political colour, to engage these matters seriously and constructively. However, I want to start by making one thing clear. This administration is and always has been committed to supporting our residents, particularly those facing hardship. That includes recognising the value of the welfare rights team, whose work in securing over £1 million in benefits for local people last year demonstrates a real and measurable impact. Although, as Cabinet members, we also have a responsibility to balance local needs with the financial realities that we face. The original savings proposal regarding the welfare rights team was part of a wider effort to ensure sustainability across all council services. Not because we undervalue the service, but because difficult choices are sometimes necessary in local government. That is why the decision in March to extend the team's funding through to September, reducing both the motion and amendment suggest, now turning to the wider national picture, this government, like all governments, must make tough choices. We must recognise that the welfare system needs to be effective, targeted and financially viable. Reforms such as the universal credit and PIP changes are aimed at modernising a system that has become unwieldy, and at times inefficient, while still protecting those with the greatest needs. That said, I absolutely agree that the process must be transparent, compassionate and responsive. Locally, our focus should remain on how we locally adopt, inform and support. And that includes making sure residents know about schemes such as pension credit, council tax reduction and the carers discount, something our communications team is already preparing to support further. We must also ensure any future decisions on the welfare rights team are based on evidence, value for money and the best outcomes for residents, not knee-jerk reactions to national political developments. In summary, I welcome a measured and evidence-based review of the welfare rights team. I support targeted communications to improve benefit take-up, and I agree that the voices of disabled people should be heard during reform processes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I call on Councillor Turner.
Really from Councillor Keating, Councillor Goddard's contributions. Firstly, I'm sort of bracing myself, Mr. Mayor, for another year, for a whole year of, well, less than a year, thankfully, of Lib Dem opportunism, backed up by the Conservatives. I suppose it just goes with the territory when you're in government. It's sort of all the guns on Labour, and that's clearly what's happening, and I expect that to continue, even though I think, as somebody's already pointed out, there's not a lot we can do about it in this chamber. I think it was Councillor Aston who said that. But yeah, I've got a feeling we're going to spend a lot of time over the next few months talking about things we have no control over. Councillor Goddard's point, I think, was well made, that just ignoring the issue of welfare reform, if we are going to talk about it, well, let's properly talk about it. We can't carry on the way we're going. By the end of the decade, we'll be spending 100 billion a year on benefits. It's just unsustainable. That's basically 1 in 4 of all the income tax we collect. There'll be no welfare state. So it has to go to those that need it. And I think just wilting at, during any conversation about cuts and just saying we can't have any reform at all is just not facing the truth at all. Councillor Edwards made a couple of points really that were incorrect. I just wanted to respond to. In terms of the Labour government, it wasn't just that they've softened it slightly. The winter fuel was basically removed. All pensioners up to 38,000 can now claim it, quite rightly in my opinion. And the disability benefits bill, as we all know, was completely gutted. So these weren't slight tweaks. They were completely abandoned. So I'm not quite sure what we're talking about, Mr. Mayor, tonight. I think it comes back full circle to Councillor Troman's motion. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the year and more of this sort of political opportunism that I just know is coming. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. I now call on Councillor Andrew Tromans to exercise his right to reply to the debate.
Don't worry, Councillor Turner, not long left now, mate. Fair enough. I don't really have any more remarks to make. I think it'd be good to get on to some other motions tonight. So I'd like to move to the vote, a recorded vote, please, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tromans. The motion will now be put to vote.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just point of order, is it correct that you need to have 6 members agree that there needs to be a named vote for it to then go to a named vote? If there are not 6 members in the chamber,
Yes, it is actually, yeah.
then we just go through on a vote by acclamation.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that, Councillor Pips. Yeah, okay. So there we go then.
Called up. Councillor Edwards has indicated to speak.
Councillor Edwards, you wish to speak?
Yeah, just quickly to say, Mr. Mayor, obviously we will add to his members if needs be to get a name vote pushed through.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. That's the 6 members then.
Okay.
So now we'll put that to vote.
So yes, carried.
Yep, so the vote there is 63% yes, 2% no, and abstain 35%, so it's 21, so the yes,
Motion is carried.
sorry, motion carried, yeah. Right, support for the Stourbridge football amid issues at the War Memorial Athletic Ground. I call on Councillor Peter Drake to move the motion in his name as set out in the agenda.
We've got 9 minutes.
9 minutes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take the motion as read. I don't want to waste people's time. We've got a lot of work to go on with. Just like to start off giving credit to Councillor Shaka Ali. He brought a very similar motion in 2023. Unfortunately, a lot of the ideas he had have not been carried forward. We have a lot of the same problems, and if not worse, we have Stourbridge FC and all the problems with the War Memorial Ground, all the problems there. And it seems that we have problems with all the other sports clubs in the area. A lot of other clubs report problems with facilities, getting somewhere affordable, somewhere to play. And I feel we need to pull our weight. We need to support them. It should be a priority for the council. I think we talk very often about game changers for the council, ice rinks, escape rooms. I think sports clubs, they're the real game changers, especially a club like Stourbridge FC that we're talking about here. It's been playing at that ground since 1888. That's a long time, is it 140 years nearly? And its future there is endangered. And I feel we should do more to support them as much as possible. Dudley Town as well, they still need help. They've been homeless for decades. And so all the other sports clubs, and that affects everybody in this room. Every single ward has the same issues. Small clubs can't get anywhere to play. If they can play, so on a small bit of grass, bit of tarmac, and we need to endeavour to do better for the area. It's not just benefits to the economy, it's benefits to the community, benefits to the entire area, health of our residents, children, adults. And I think we need a cross-party working group. This is something Shaka Ali brought up. I haven't heard anything at all since it was passed in 2023. We need cross-party support to improve our area, to make it easier for clubs to find somewhere to play. And especially Stourbridge FC, it's got severe problems. We need to give as much support as possible. And I call on the council to create a cross-party working group with real teeth, not lip service, to do something about it. And especially to help Stourbridge FC in its hour in need.
Councillor Drake. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you. Yep, okay.
Mr Mayor, we've hit the 30-minute time limit on debating motions.
Okay, yeah.
So this will need to continue at the next meeting.
Yeah, this will need to continue, as Belvin has just said, at the next meeting, because we've exceeded, well, we've come up to the 30 minutes time limit, so that one will continue the next time round.
Councillor Mayor, could I point out to you 16.4 recorded vote does actually say 6 members present at the meeting demanded. I don't know whether you've got the names of the 6 members, but most people in most organisations, if you want to have a recorded vote, you stand. So I'm saying if you stand and there's 6 of you standing, then you go to recorded vote. It just says 6 names down to 16.4. Maybe as we look at the Constitution and look up to date, maybe that's something we ought to do.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine.
It's a notice of motions. This one will continue.
The notes of motion, this one will continue at the next meeting.
At the next council meeting.
Yep, thank you. In line with the council procedure rules, the question time will evolve. A 30-minute time limit on the session. The first 3 questions to be offered to the main opposition group leaders. And I call on Councillor Adam Aston.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll take one question. I'll allocate a question each to Councillor Cowell and Councillor Muggle. I do want to eat my time. Right. Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question is for the Leader of the Council. I've said in Cabinet and I'll say it here, as far as the Labour Group is concerned, a Section 114 notice is the worst possible thing that could happen to this authority. So the recent improvement to its financial sustainability is, of course, welcome. But one thing is striking from the end-of-year outturn report recently considered by Cabinet. Across this authority, significant savings are being achieved by carrying huge numbers of staff vacancies. This is piling intolerable pressure on those who remain. Teams across every directorate of this council being expected to do more and more with fewer and fewer staff. When almost every council struggles to recruit and retain key frontline staff, we're placing increased pressures by holding on to vacancies in the name of spending controls. Mr Mayor, can I seek assurance from the Leader of the Council that he's cognisant of the fact we're losing good people from this authority and a recognition of the current mood and, quite frankly, really poor morale amongst frontline staff who are delivering key services under immense pressure? Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Aston. I call on Councillor... Oh, sorry, I call on the Leader to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just don't recognise that vision of Dudley. We've gone through a hell of a lot of change, Mr Mayor, and that change has took us from the brink of a 114 into a position there where we have that financial sustainability. And we said at the very start of this, when we had the LGA improvement board, where they were expecting us to slice £20 million from frontline services, like other councils had. We told them there and then it has to be a sustainable model. That's what we have produced. And to answer Councillor Kesey from the previous debates, those changes to the council tax reduction scheme, protection was put in place for those residents who need it. But at the same time, that £4.5 million secured our leisure centres and libraries for 5 years, whilst we look at a new operating model to keep them going for future generations. There is a new total operating model being produced by the authority. There is a huge restructure going on. That will produce savings, but it allows opportunity for those that want to thrive by having a good, long career with Dudley Council. And we have many good staff, but I make no apologies for changing the entire senior team. It let down the politicians on all sides, as noted in the LGA peer review report, feedback session, and also by the CIPFA report. And members should take note of what CIPFA say. They are the financial right arm of local government. The changes we've made to staff are for the better of this borough. They produce financial stability, and at the same time we are quickly recruiting a new senior team that has the energy and that strategic thinking to move this authority forward. Thank you. Cool, look at that.
Councillor Harley. Does Councillor Aston wish to ask for a supplementary question?
I do, Mr Mayor, and I thank the leader for his response, but I do think it's incredibly concerning. The conversations staff are having with me don't sound like the conversations they're having with him, which perhaps should ring alarm bells about the culture within this organisation. The council lost 59,142 days due to sickness in 23-24. 35,000 of them were long-term, and stress and anxiety being the leading cause of those absences. I'd ask him again to acknowledge the pressure that frontline council staff are facing. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Aston. I call on Councillor Kesey.
Councillor Cowell.
Oh, sorry.
Right to reply for the leader.
Okay, right to reply for the leader. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just on that subject, directly to Councillor Aston, I've worked in many organisations where you've had to bring in a lot of change. The reorganisation, restructures, they are, for the part, very unpopular. People naturally don't like change. But this authority has to change. We have to be a modern 21st century council that financially is fit, but has a workforce that is motivated, willing to change. And we've seen the dramatic turnaround in adult social care, where we've had changes at the top, but then a new team has come in and someone has grasped that opportunity to step up and has completely transformed adult social care, also with a very talented cabinet member as well. So change is good. And what we have to do as the leaders of our groups and chief executive downwards is to make sure that that change is carried throughout the whole organisation, that we bring our workforce with us. And what I would say is that people naturally do not like that change, but it's how we manage it and bring people with us. And I'm convinced, Mr Mayor, that we will.
Thank you, Councillor Harley. I now call on Councillor Cowell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Could I ask the Cabinet for Economy and Infrastructure for an update on what is happening with regard to the speeding issue on Thorns Road? Last time councillors met on site with local Labour MPs and the Police and Crime Commissioner, we seem to be making some progress. But I have no further information, and driver behaviour, if anything, seems to be getting worse. It would appear that most drivers are going so fast they can't even read the 30 limit embossed on the roadway. Residents in my ward are fed up with the constant worry and stress brought on by the rattling of windows as the cars speed along as if they are at Brands Hatch. They live in fear of having to tend to more broken bodies. School crossing staff take their life in their hands every day. There has been an ongoing issue here for far too long, and it needs to stop. Specifically, could I ask the lead member, cabinet member, where are we now in relation to the installation of average speed cameras? Thank you, Mr Mayor.
I now call on Councillor. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Councillor Phipps.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cowell, for the question. New portfolio for me, so I've been getting up to speed with many of...
Sorry.
I've been catching up with a lot of the work that's been done by my predecessor, Councillor Caulfield. Thorns Road in particular is one that we're all aware of in terms of the incidents that have taken place down there. And whilst I think many members in the chamber have significant frustrations with the national way of evaluating how we intervene in individual roads based on speeding issues, Thorns Road is one that is glaringly in need of some work to address the issues on there. There has been a lot of work put in by the officers, as I say, my predecessor as well. I believe that there are agreements in place to progress the project of average speed cameras. It's simply a case of getting round to issuing the relevant consultation to those ward members, which I'm fairly sure should be coming through within the next few weeks once all the relevant processes have been followed. But it is something that I've been briefly briefed on, and it will be coming to ward members in the near future. So hopefully that will give you some reassurance it's on the way.
Thank you, Councillor Phipps. And can I have a response from Councillor Cowell?
Yep, thank you, Madam. Sorry. Mr Mayor, somebody had to make that cock up, didn't they? I thank the new Cabinet member, and I do appreciate the situation, and also thank Councillor Caulfield for his previous work on the issue. But if I could ask that we are kept informed, please, and that if the issue could be pushed along as fast as possible, forgive the pun. We do desperately need those average speed cameras because it just gets worse and worse every day. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Cowell. There's one thing, we're having a good laugh tonight. So, Councillor Phipps to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the supplementary question. Yeah, absolutely. There's a set process to follow when it comes to advertising any of these types of changes on our roads. Local road safety schemes is something that all ward members will be consulted on, and I'll also try and make sure that where necessary the relevant external stakeholders are kept up to date as well, because I know it's not just elected members from this council that have been involved with that. But no, certainly you'll be getting the relevant documents so you can see what is proposed. You'll get that before it goes to any public consultation, so ward members always have the opportunity to input first, and then of course it will go out to the wider public for those comments, so we can make a decision with all of those comments taken on board. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Phipps. And we now go to Councillor, I hope I spell your name right.
Say it right.
Is it Kazim Mughal? Yeah, is that right? Okay, thank you. I don't want to insult you.
You probably pronounce it better than my sister does, to be fair.
Well,
so there we are. Right. Mr Mayor, last week, during my visit to the Link Academy in Netherton, I had the privilege of meeting members of their student council, a group of learners who are not only passionate about their school, but are actively shaping it. From leading initiatives like Friday Fun Day to influencing canteen improvements, their voices are being heard. One exciting outcome of that visit was a shared desire and commitment to co-develop a collaborative community event next term, bringing together learners, staff and local partners. So my question, Mr Mayor, to the Cabinet Member for Children's is, how can the Council support schools like the Link Academy in delivering such learner-led community activities? And what framework exists already to help these events grow into borough-wide models of youth engagement? Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Somebody's got to reply. Councillor Little to reply.
Councillor, you were jumping the gun there, weren't you? Councillor Little to reply, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Sorry for being a bit keen there to stand up and take that question. Gives me great pleasure to stand here as the Cabinet Member for Children's and Education. Over the last few weeks, 7 weeks since the appointment of that role, I've been getting around Dudley, into schools, into some of the inclusions, meeting with staff, listening to lots of things from young and elder children. Just last week, many of you will know we had corporate parenting here. It's quite eventful for me prior to the meeting. But there was no way that, although my motorcycle was going to be stolen, I was not going to have the meeting stolen from me that evening either, because I'd got two young people who were in care, our children, Dudley children, that had worked with me prior to that meeting to co-design and co-chair that meeting. So what the councillor mentions there about co-design, I absolutely am keen to understand that more. I'm not up to speed with what current frameworks exist, of what you may speak of, but outside of this meeting, I welcome some conversations with yourself to listen to some of the ideas, and perhaps in this reply you may share some of those ideas with us. But I can assure you that the council will be committed to make sure that the children of Dudley, our children, every one of us in this room, do listen to some of the suggestions, and we do improve the outcomes for our children.
Thank you, Councillor Little. Councillor McGull, would you like to ask a follow-up question? Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for your input there. I now call on Councillor Sean Kesey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Very briefly, I think Councillor Phipps, I'm going to ask you this, because I was going to ask Councillor Caulfield, but it is you now. A couple of months ago, there were some works done in Sedgley Town Centre involving safety railings, bollards, road markings, etc. So my first question is, prior to the works, what consultation was done with residents regarding the changes? What was the? I have asked this prior, so please don't think I'm just springing this on you. I've just had no answers. What was the cost of all the works? And when was the risk assessment for the works written? Thank you.
Councillor Phipps, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kesey. It's a project that was completed or approved in a previous round of programme of works. So I've had no briefings, no information about this, only on stuff that's upcoming. So that's something that I will take away and make sure you have a response to. Thank you.
Councillor Kesey, do you want a follow-up question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and that's a fair answer, and thank you for that. My next question is, do you believe Sedgley is safer?
Is it not a follow-up?
All right. Yes, a supplementary question. I said next, I should have said supplementary, I apologise. Do you believe Sedgley is safer now that safety railings between cars, articulated lorries, buses, coaches, speeding quad bikes have been removed? Thank you.
Councillor Phipps to reply.
Again, I haven't even seen what works have been carried out, so I'd have to get back to you really with an assessment of what works have been carried out. But I know the process usually is quite significant in order to make sure that we get those works done. So I'm sure those things can be provided for you. All right.
I now call on Councillor Steve Edwards.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Today is the 12th Black Country Day. We've been lucky across Dudley Borough. To be honest, Black Country Day was launched in Dudley Borough and it was led on by Dudley Council with the leadership of Councillor Harley and Councillor Lowe, and also with Councillor Aston. I think he was the Mayor's consort the year that we first launched Black Country Day and Black Country Festival. So it's been one of the real cross-party success stories of this borough. Over the course of this month, there's lots of Black Country Festival events going on, which Councillor Harley has still been supporting from the council's point of view. And I think he attended the Black Country event this week at Himley Hall. Would he agree with me that it is one of the best success stories that this council has achieved when in unity and working together, and it supports the whole of the community and the whole of the Black Country, which is, you know, a population of 1 million people who are all proudly waving the Black Country flag.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Harley to reply.
Well, I'll try, because I don't think there was a question asked, Steve, but never mind. Yeah, I'll just echo those thoughts. You know, we are proud to be the historic capital of the Black Country. Other boroughs may try and tag into that Black Country month-long period of celebrations, but nobody does it better than the volunteers, the charities, the organisations, the friends groups that put on so many great events. And the one at Himley was fantastic. It was on obviously a larger, smaller scale than Musicom, but it was a fantastic event. And a shout out for the chair of that committee, James Stevens. I thought he did a fantastic job. And not a bad singer as well at the end of the night. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Harley, and I do totally agree. Councillor Edwards to follow up.
Now, just to wish everybody a happy Black Country Day, and let's make sure we support it every year and keep council support for it. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. I now call on Councillor Priest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question's for the Leader of the Council. One of the most simple things that any local authority can do to show its pride in the communities that we represent, its support for marginalised communities and champion good causes, is to fly appropriate flags at appropriate times outside the council house. What we've seen over the last few months is attacks on this practice by Reform politicians, with many newly Reform-led councils across the country tearing down all flags but the Union Jack. Now, my group's proud to be from the Black Country, something that Reform clearly are not, and I'm a proud ally of the LGBT community, something which Reform clearly are not. Flying a flag outside this building will not cure the world of all its evils, but it's a simple message of support that this council can offer. Now, nationally, what we've seen from the Conservative Party is an attempt to mimic Reform in an attempt to remain relevant. So my question to the leader is, will you be mimicking Reform, or will you be keeping the flags flying?
Councillor Harley, do you wish to reply to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for that question. I got criticised from one of our members in this chamber for withdrawing funding and support from a particular event. That was done due to financial resources. The party that that person now belongs to would stop that event on pure ideology. As long as I'm leader of this group and this council, that will not happen under my watch. And I can proudly say, today I approved, along with my deputy, a list of events where we will either fly the appropriate flags, such as the Black Country flag, the Pride flag, or when we light up the council house, when we get a request from particular charities and voluntary organisations. And as long as I'm here and this group has control of the authority, we will do things on practicalities, on issues of sensibility, not ideology.
Priest for a follow-up.
Thank you for that, Councillor Harley. Councillor Priest for a follow-up. No, okay, thank you. Councillor Adam Aston to reply.
No, to ask a question.
Oh, to ask a question, sorry. Whatever.
You'll be sick of my voice tonight, Mr. Mayor. But, just a very quick one, because I think it's important. Mr. Mayor, this council is currently... Oh, sorry, my question is for the Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care. This council is currently amidst a full inspection of adult social care by the Care Quality Commission. I wonder if Councillor Goddard would join me in placing on record our thanks to staff within Adult Social Care Directorate who have been working so hard to prepare for the CQC inspection. Often in addition to their day job. I know an awful lot of work has gone into the preparation for the inspection. Also, having been grilled by the inspectors earlier today, can I wish Councillor Goddard the very best of luck for her meeting tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Goddard.
Thank you for that, Councillor Aston. Yeah, shaking a bit. No, I would definitely like to put on record thanks to the staff. They do amazing all year round in adult social care, and I am really proud of the fact that we've got such a great bunch in Dudley. And I'd really like to say thank you especially to Emma, who has led on the CQC from the beginning and has done absolutely amazing. So yeah, thank you to everyone within adult social care.
No follow-up. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, Andrea. I now call on Councillor Ethan Stafford.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just first like to start out by saying I'd like to wish everyone a happy Black Country Day, to everyone in this chamber and across the borough. My question this evening is going to be for the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhoods. Over recent weeks, agenda setting has taken place for the scrutiny committees for the forthcoming municipal year. One of the topics selected by the Liberal Democrats is to review of the impact of the reintroduction of parking charges across the borough last year. Does the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhoods welcome the decision to bring this to scrutiny? And further to this, would the Cabinet Member consider organising an impact survey with local businesses to help ensure that their members are properly informed when forming recommendations following the review? Thank you.
Councillor Phipps, call on you to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Stafford. I'm replying because I believe that the remit will come under the economy infrastructure brief now rather than neighbourhoods. We're all still getting used to the changes in the system. So thank you for your question. Very happy that this topic is in scrutiny. In fact, actually, any topic that the scrutiny committees wish to touch on, more than welcome, because when scrutiny works, it means that we get better decision making. And it's one thing that I would like to try and do throughout the year. Hopefully my colleagues will agree with me, is to try and get ahead of the game and do more pre-decision scrutiny rather than just always looking back, but looking forward and being able to get agreements on what we want to do for this council, for the borough, before we have to come into meetings like this and vote on it and potentially argue on it. With regard to the parking charges and the policies, it is certainly something that is being looked at the moment. We need to assess how the performance has been since the changes last year. Obviously, the circumstances around those changes were in a period of significant financial difficulty for the authority, where we were looking at making as much income as possible, maximising income to stave off that threat of a Section 114 notice. We're not in that territory anymore. So what we now need to do is look and consider how best our policies can not just achieve income for the council so we can afford all of the things that we need to do when it comes to roads, when it comes to social care, when it comes to housing and our other activities, but also how it benefits the wider borough and how it benefits all of the different things that we like to try and support, such as our town centres, our local businesses, and of course the residents as well. So it's certainly something that we'll be looking to make sure we speak to businesses about over the next few months as well. And with all charges, they'll be reviewed as part of the fees and charges consultation later on in the year when those are set once again for the following year. Thanks.
Councillor Stafford, do you wish to follow up on that?
Thank you for the reply. Councillor Phipps, are we okay to sort of catch up after the meeting to have a look, see if we can line that up before it comes to scrutiny?
You can make an appointment with me in my office in the Saracen's Head, sir. Thank you.
Now there's a man with his head screwed on. Thank you. And I now call on Councillor Hilary Bills.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question is for the leader. It's a friendly question, don't worry. I always tell Councillor Harley that I hate him, but actually we do manage to get along. And can I just congratulate you on the reply you gave about the flags? Thank you very much. Councillor Phipps and I have been working in Halesowen, working with Halesowen Cycle Club, you probably know where I'm coming from, to get a velodrome somewhere in the West Midlands. But we would dearly love it to be in Dudley. I know we're looking at having an ice rink, but I went a couple of weeks ago to see the arena in Derby. And it's absolutely fantastic because the floor space is immense. There's seating that can be brought in. The markings on the floor, you can have whatever sport you want, including an ice rink. The joy is that on the first floor, going round and round, is a velodrome. So I would suggest that maybe Councillor Harley, because I believe it's not just going to be an ice rink, it's going to be a multi-sport area. Go and have a look what Derby's got, because I really think you'd be impressed. Thank you, Councillor Harley.
Thank you, Councillor Bills. Councillor Harley to reply.
Mr Mayor, good idea, but the ice rink project is a private sector initiative. So it'll be funded by the private sector company, and it will not include a velodrome. We have already looked at that, and it just won't fit. However, I believe that from September this year, there may well be a site in this borough that could certainly fit the stadium in there to accommodate a velodrome. It is within the borough. There's certain complexities to why I won't say where it is until September, but I'm happy to share it with you one-to-one after this meeting. And yours, mine, and Councillor Phipps's friend, who drives us absolutely balmy on this subject, quite frequently cycles past the Green Man. I do try to hide when he goes past from time to time, but I did enlighten him over the weekend, and I asked him to go and visit this site, and he's come back and said, yeah, it would be absolutely marvellous. We could well fit a velodrome into that space. So I think the next priority is, if this site is suitable, is finding the funding.
Thank you, Councillor Harley. That's really encouraging what you just said there. Councillor Bills to reply.
Thank you, Councillor Harley. You can go home knowing you've made Councillor Bills very happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Question time agenda item. In urgent business, under the provisions of section 100B 4B of the Local Government Act 1972, I am of the opinion that the council needs to consider the appointment of an officer responsible for the proper management of the council's finances as a matter of urgency. The reason for urgency is the need to comply with the legal requirements under section 151 of the Local Government Act 1972. I call on the leader.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I move that the council endorse the appointment of Lisa Quito as the interim director of finance and section 151 officer with effect from the 1st of August 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Harley. Is there a seconder?
Yes, seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any speakers on this item? No. No? Okay, thank you. I call on the leader to reply. No? Okay, thank you. All agreed? That is carried. Resolution to exclude the public and the press. I'm afraid now we have to ask the public gallery to clear, and we have items of business. I move that the public and the press be excluded from the meeting for the remaining items of business on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information under Part 1 of the Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972 for the reasons stated on the agenda. Does the council agree? Thank you. That is carried.
1 second. Just check.
Oh, okay.